Comfort Farm.
Or A Good Woman's Influence by Stella Gibbons. Dramatised for radio by Elizabeth Proud, who is also impersonating the author. Episode 2, Amos's Call. The orphaned Flora Poste has arrived with her £100 a year to stay at Cold Comfort Farm in Sussex, the sort of typical farm you find in agricultural novels. She finds life on the farm very messy and has decided to take the Starkadder family in hand and tidy them up. But first, her bedroom curtains need washing, and apparently the only person who can do this job is Miriam, the hired girl, who has just been heard screaming in childbirth in a hut at the bottom of Nettleflitch Field. As Flora approaches the hut, in some trepidation, Stella Gibbons has asked Mr. John Westbrook to open episode 2 with a passage of 2-star literature.
The cries from the little hut had stopped. An exhausted silence, brimmed with the enervating weakness which follows a stupendous effort, mounted from the stagnant air in the farmyard like a miasma. All the surrounding surface of the countryside, the huddled downs lost in rain, the wet fields fanged abruptly with flints, the leafless thorns thrust sideways by the eternal pawing of the wind, the farm crouched like a beast about to spring on the hillside. All seemed to be folding inwards upon themselves. Their dumbness said, "Give up."
Flora's practical experience of confinements was non-existent, but she had a lively acquaintance with them through the works of women novelists, especially those of the unmarried ones.
I must say, I do hope there are not going to be any heavy shapes or sweat or howls in this hut. I suppose there are bound to be bedposts.
Who's there?
Miss Post from the farm. May I come in?
What do we want? With me and mine.
It's curious that persons who live what the novelists call a rich, emotional life always seem to be a bit slow on the uptake.
To Flora's relief, there were no sweat, nor howls, nor bedposts in the hut. There was only a young woman, whom she supposed to be Miriam, rather sullen-looking and like a ripe fruit, of course. Baby there was none, and Flora was puzzled, but she was too relieved to wonder much what the explanation could be.
Good morning. Are you feeling better? Mrs. Starkadder seems to think you will be about again in a day or two, and if you feel well enough, I want you to wash the curtains in my bedroom.
Why do he come here mocking me shame? Me only out of me trouble yesterday.
Yesterday? I thought it was today. Surely you... Didn't I hear... That is, weren't you crying out only about 10 minutes ago? Mrs. Starkadder and I both heard you.
Aye, I moithered out a bit. I was remembering me trouble yesterday. How should Mrs. Starkadder know what I've been through, and when I've been through it? Not that I ever says much while it's going on. Mother says it's because I keeps me spirits up and eats hearty aforehand.
Indeed. I'm glad to hear it.
For a second, Flora wondered if the women novelists had been mistaken about confinements. But she recollected that they left themselves a loophole by occasionally creating a primitive woman, a creature who was as close to the earth as a bloomy greengage, and rather like one to look at and talk to. And this greengage creature never had any bother with her confinements, but just took them in her stride, as it were. Evidently Miriam belonged in the greengage category.
Well, when can you take the curtains down? The day after tomorrow?
I never said as I'd wash your curtains. Haven't I enough to bear with 3 children to find food for, and me mother looking after a 4th? And who's to know what will happen to me when the sook bind is out in the hedges again and I feel so strange in the long summer evenings?
Nothing will happen to you if you only use your intelligence and see that it doesn't. I will tell you how to see that nothing happens. And never mind about the sook-bind for a minute. Is this sook-bind, anyway? Listen to me.